is up, fight fans? This is your DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show powered by the MMA Plug. DenverSportsBetting.com, your one-stop shop for all of Colorado sports. Check them out for your coverage of all Colorado local sports teams, wagering advice, and betting previews just like this one. I am Ron Kruck. I am the voice of the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass, joined as always by my partner, Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz. Jordan, what's happening, my man?
Ron, I've got to say that it is a huge fight week all the way across the board. We had action last night with CES. We have action with you guys this weekend. There's a Bellator card. There's a UFC card. It's a great time to be a fight fan.
Absolutely. It's like 2020 has been a kick in the groin for pretty much everyone except the MMA world, dude. I mean, it is incredible. CES, you know, that's a group that I have covered for a long time out on the East Coast, and they do some pretty impressive fights. John Gotti Jr. lost his first professional MMA fight, and it went to the judges' scorecard. So I wonder if those judges are going to disappear at some time, Jordan. I'm just wondering, you know, with the Gotti Jr. fight.
I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching that one.
Just say, I mean, hey, no, it was a good fight, and I think they made the right call. But yeah, we got Bellator internationally, we got the LFA from here in beautiful Wichita, Kansas going down. We got huge main event here in the LFA with well, your guy, Factory X's Andre Podrosky. Just got done speaking to him. He's ready. He's going to have his hands full with Aaron Jeffrey. But you've seen Petrosky up close. This guy's a beast, isn't he, Jordan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Andre, I mean, he's exactly as advertised. You know, he's strong as a bull. He's going to be a pressure-forward guy, and get your popcorn ready because he finishes fast.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a great month for MMA, and it just keeps rolling. As we take a look back, I finally, from last week, broke my losing streak with Ben Rothwell fights. I was either, if I chose him and picked him to win, he'd lose. If I took his opponent, he'd win. Finally, Marcin Tybura, he broke that brutal streak I had going, and got the win. And then finally I went 3-0 last week, Jordan. That was a nice one, taking Barbosa and Sandhagen as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, Junior looked great as well. And let's talk about Corey for a second.
Man.
This is a guy who, you could argue that the Marlon fight was almost in a sense like, and this is no disrespect to Aljo, but you could argue that the Marlon fight was a bigger fight, was a bigger spectacle, especially being that it was a main event billing, that, you know, that was his time. He beat the microscope, and that's what he was able to do.
Oh, he looked amazing. He is on fire, just right back at it. Incredible spinning heel hook for TKO. Just looked very comfortable, and just his fight game continues to evolve every fight he steps into the octagon. And we also have to give Joaquin Buckley some credit. Holy moly, the LFA veteran doing us proud. One of the most insane knockouts in UFC history, that spinning back kick after another LFA alumni, Impa Kasanganay, caught his leg, still able to come around, knocks him out. Unreal. I had just mainstream sports fans, Jordan, on Twitter hitting me up like, have you ever seen anything like it? And that one is definitely in the top 3, in my opinion.
That's definitely an all-time knockout. You know, I don't know where exactly
it's hard to say
it sits on the list, because there have been some very spectacular knockouts out
100%.
there. It is hard to say, you know, especially when you're talking, you know, like with those spinning or those wheel kicks. You're right. That was Uriah Hall-esque.
Totally. Totally. A lot of fun last week, and we returned to Flash Forum on Fight Island again this week, or as Dan Hardy called it, Smash Forum. I love that. Give him some props after the KOs and the finishes we saw last week. But we are back on Fight Island, and it's a main event, Jordan, that seems like it's been years in the making, and that's because it's taken a long time after some injury cancellations and some COVID-related issues. The long-awaited return of former featherweight title challenger Brian T-City Ortega and the man known as the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. Making this main event even more massive, Jordan, is the fact that Dana White said the winner will earn the next title shot at champion Alexander Volkovsky. Volkanovski, sorry, man. And so this is a lot on the line in this main event. Current odds as we go into this UFC Fight Night main event, Brian Ortega, the former title challenger, is the underdog. He comes in at plus 160. The favorite is the Korean Zombie at minus 200. These odds, of course, coming in from denversportsbetting.com and betrivers.com. Sign up with the BetRivers promotion now. Get to betrivers.com. Sign up with the promo code DSB250 and become a part of betrivers.com. This main event breakdown, though, is sponsored by the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill, located in Westminster. Get down to the 3070 Sports Bar. Try their Golfer's Delight. They also have the 420 Vegas Bombs. 3070 Sports Bar and Grill that's located West 120th in Westminster. All right, there is the setup, my man. How do you have this title eliminator going down, Jordan?
I think that we're going to have to see where T-City really is. He's coming off of a fight against Max Holloway in his last bout that he took a lot of damage in. He got peppered like a $2 steak from Max that entire fight, and he sustained some considerable damage to his hands. He's had to have multiple surgeries throughout this time, and that was also his first professional loss. So for some guys, it's always that question of how do they rebound from having that first loss? Sure. And this has some personal heat to it as well with the whole J Park sort of situation. There's going to be some added beef elements to it. I don't think that it's too much between those two guys individually, but because he did slap Korean Zombie's boy up, I'm sure that that's always going to be something that weighs in his mind, just for the respect factor side of things. That being said, the Korean Zombie is called the Korean Zombie for a reason. He was a soldier for a reason. The Korean Zombie is every bit as legit and for real as you could possibly be in the 145-pound division.
You are correct. Korean Zombie doing exactly what zombies are supposed to do, pretty much walk through people and attack them. Yeah, really a tale of two stories here when you look at how active Jung's been and how inactive Ortega's been. As you said, this will be his first fight since that torn ACL and surgery he had, and it's been almost 2 years since he suffered his first pro defeat to then champion Max Holloway. Jung has just been nonstop since his last loss to Rodriguez, and that was back in, I believe, November of 2018. I mean, he's just been destroying everyone that's been put in front of him, including, Frankie Edgar in the first round. And he's been doing it in impressive fashion since his layoff for his mandatory military service. But, Zombie's been really showing that power that he has. Sometimes I feel it's a little underrated, especially when he gets in the pocket. But for me, you look at this matchup, and that's really the big X factor, is the fact that Zombie has been the more active fighter. Ortega coming off almost a 2-year layoff. You mentioned it, I think it's a great point, is mentally, where is he coming off that first professional loss. And then, Jordan, you add on the fact that he blew everything up. I mean, he has switched fight camps. He has switched teammates. He has switched coaches. He has said he wants to come out and look like a completely different fighter from who he was. Sometimes that can be a new beginning. Sometimes it can be a problem when you're changing everything up. So a lot of X factors coming into this massive featherweight fight. Time now to make our picks. And of course, our picks are sponsored by 3AM Water, hydration for the go-getters. You've got to try this product. You will not regret it. Go to 3amwater.com for more information. All right, Jordan, again, as of this recording, the current odds have the Korean Zombie as the favorite, -200. The comeback on Brian Ortega, +160. Who you got?
Well, Ron, you almost led me right into that right there, because
That's what I do.
Yeah, you mentioned that you mentioned that Brian T. City Ortega had switched up basically everything. There was one thing that had remained constant for him, and that was Henner Gracie. But because Henner had a positive test, Henner is no longer going to be there. Yes. Henner was somebody who was a constant within Brian's life, not just his fighting career, in his life, since he was an early teenager coming away from the gang life and in the streets there in Los Angeles. Point. With him not being there, and this being such a pivotal moment within Brian's career and maybe needing to channel and realign him mentally, with him not being there, I think that this is something that you could almost certainly hammer the odds on the Korean Zombie for all the things that Brian Ortega will not have.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you this week, man. I think, what really should determine the outcome is if Ortega is a different fighter, how much has he improved defensively on the feet? I mean, he cannot absorb the power of the Zombie like he did in his last fight with Holloway. On the flip side, can Jung stop the grappling attack of Ortega and counter him with his wrestling? That's a reach. I think Jung will turn this one into a real technical striking battle. I think that's going to be the key. No one really is fighting better in the featherweight division right now than Jung. I think this is his opportunity to move up that ladder, get that shot at the champion Volkanovski, and see if this is this is his coming out party. I'm going with the favorite in this one too, the Korean Zombie. I think he'll get the win, Jordan.
Definitely, I would agree. I think that's the safe pick. And you mentioned the grappling prowess from Ortega. Let's not forget how really underrated the grappling is from the Korean Zombie. I mean, he's one of only two guys that has ever pulled off the ever elusive twister in MMA history.
Great point. Well, the current odds as of this recording from DenverSportsBetting.com and Bet Rivers. Again, Jung is your favorite at -200, and the comeback on Brian Ortega +160. Visit BetRivers.com. Add in the promo code DSB250, Denver Sports Betting 250, and they will hook you up. Well, thanks for being a part of DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show. We are sponsored always by the MMA Plug. DenverSportsBetting.com. Listen, sports betting in Colorado is exploding right now. The NBA just got finished, but you can still bet on baseball, on football, and of course, MMA. And to get you prepared to do your homework, you got to check out the guys at DenverSportsBetting.com. They will give you all the betting previews, odds, and picks, just like this MMA preview that we do. I am Ron Kruck, play-by-play man for the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass. He is Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz. We are previewing the big ESPN Plus Fight Night going down on Fight Island. Of course, the main event is the Korean Zombie taking on Brian Ortega, but we now put the spotlight on the co-headliner, which is the women's flyweights. They get a shot as former title challenger Caitlin Chukagian. I always kill this one, Jordan. It's ridiculous. She's taken on former strawweight champion Jessica Andrade. This is a key fight, really, for both of these ladies. You look at Caitlin coming off that lopsided loss to current champion Valentina Shevchenko. And for Andrade, this is her third weight class in the UFC. She's had some success at both bantamweight and strawweight, but now the Brazilian looks to get in the title fight mix and maybe get a shot at Shevchenko. The current odds as of this recording from denversportsbetting.com and betrivers.com. We have Chukagian is the underdog at plus minus 130, and Andrade is the favorite at minus 160. This seems to be a pretty tight fight in the co-main event. Jordan, give us your take and break this fight down for us.
It's close as far as the odds go in terms of the money differential for who's the favorite and who's not. But I think it is, personally, I think it's a little bit crazy that Caitlin Chukagian is not the favorite coming into this matchup. She had looked great in a lot of her performances leading up to that title fight. But let's be honest, who does look good against Valentina Shevchenko?
Great point.
That's the real question here and there. I mean, this is my opinion, pure and simple, as it comes to that 25 division. Ron, there's the champion, and then there's everybody else, and the gap is pretty significant.
Yep.
So really, have to use some of her strength to somewhat kind of, to play the bully, if you will, because Caitlin is so long in comparison. And I think that if she keeps Jessica Andrade at distance, she uses that jab, she uses some of her kicks to be able to just employ that Mark Henry striking system to keep her at bay from being able to go in a phone booth. That's Caitlin Chukagian's key to success. If Jessica Andrade can bring forth that sort of bull-like pressure that she had in that first Rose fight, it might be a tough night for Caitlin. I think that's the only way that Andrade has success.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a matchup for me that kind of comes down to the power of the Brazilian Andrade, and if she can overwhelm Chukagian with that power. Even against the bigger and taller Chukagian, who will have a massive height advantage, I think Andrade is going to have to work her way and fight inside, keep it in the pocket, and try to pick apart Caitlin. If Chukagian can get the fight to the ground, I can see her grinding out a decision victory in this one. I just like, how Andrade continues to kind of push the envelope. She's been in the other weight classes, but I think this is the right one for her. She was too slow at strawweight, and really just didn't have in terms of height and reach, too small at bantamweight. So, third time's maybe the charm for her. I like her in this division. I think that this is where she needs to be, and her speed will be much better at this division. So that leads us to our picks. Our picks, as always, are sponsored by 3AM Water, hydration for the go-getters. You can check them out at 3amwater.com for more information. The current odds for this co-main event, of course, coming in from denversportsbetting.com and betrivers.com. Chukagian is the underdog at plus 130. Andrade, the favorite, at minus 160. Jordan, you kind of gave us a little tease there, but give us your pick for the co-main event.
So I think on the value side alone, I'm going to go with Caitlin. I think that because she has the potential for the higher payout, it is, you know, for all those reasons that you mentioned, the neutralizing effect of all of this is the power that Andrade possesses. You
Yeah.
know, she started off in that 135-pound division, so she is a naturally stronger woman in there
Right.
who has been used to carrying extra weight. So it's not like it's the first time that she's ever fought at a higher weight class to where she doesn't know how her body's going to react. But, you know, just like we've seen with some other fighters out there who in different divisions who have bounced around a little bit, you know, if you can't really find a sticking place in one, well, like old Uncle Chael says, throw a fresh coat of paint on it, go into a new division, and then call yourself a new product.
You got it.
That's kind of, you know, that's kind of, I think, where Andrade found herself after she lost the title, then she lost the rematch to Rose again. She kind of won in a flukish fashion to begin with, but now I think that she sees the writing on the wall within that division that her path back to gold at 115 is going to be tough.
Right.
Now, the difference is, just like we kind of alluded to, the pathway to gold at 125 is not very, it's not a treacherous path by any means. You know, when you have Cynthia Calvillo, who came in right away and she essentially beats one of the next top contenders within the division, that goes to show you what we're looking at in terms of the strength of schedule, if you will, at 125.
Yeah.
I
for
still
sure.
like the pick with Caitlin. I'm going to ride with her.
All right, so we finally get a little bit of a disagreement here. I understand it. I don't love this fight as one of my best bets for sure. I think this could go either way. You know, Andrade, though, I just like her, as I said and alluded to a little bit earlier. This is a better weight class for her, and you know she needs this fight. You know, lost 2 in a row since the title, and she needs to get things back on track. I think she will have her power on display, and I think she'll get a victory. Not going to be easy, and not one of my favorite picks on the card for sure. But I'm going to go with Andrade. This is DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show, powered by the MMA Plug. As always, check out DenverSportsBetting.com. Ron Kruck with Jordan Kurtz, as always, as we are previewing UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus 38, going down on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. We've broken down the main and co-main events now. We turn the spotlight on a fight or fighter on the card that Jordan and I are keeping an eye on. Jordan, I'll tee you up first. A lot of choices on this card, some interesting matchups. Who do you turn your spotlight on this week?
I'm putting my spotlight on the UFC Anyweight BMF, the OG himself, out of Kansas City. You need a fight on short notice. Is it 24 hours? Is it a week? Who knows? Who cares? He is always ready. I'm putting the spotlight on the James Krause. Yes, sir. You already knew what was coming with that one. I mean, the UFC knows who to call when there's going to be that short notice fight. Those Spice Adams memes were perfect.
I love it.
Of him just, you know, looking right there behind the tree. Those memes were so on point. The internet is undefeated. I love James Krause in this particular matchup. James Krause, his only loss was that very controversial split decision loss that he had against Trevin Giles at UFC 247 down in Houston. And mind you, that was on, like I say, less than a day's notice, up a weight class against a guy who had a judge who shared a coach, but that somehow wasn't a conflict of interest in the commission's eyes. Who knows how that whole sort of thing ended up being put together. Nonetheless, James Krause went out there and put on a show, and his brand has grown exponentially since that point. He comes in against a very tough opponent in Silva. Silva has only lost one fight, kind of in a similar fashion, the way that John Jones did with an illegal strike. It's going to be a tough matchup. There's no doubt about that. But if anybody out there knows anything about James Krause, he is the epitome of that old school Midwest gangster. If you put the pressure on him for 4 minutes and 58 seconds, last 2 seconds, buddy, you better be ready, because he is going to bring it, and he will still be right there in your face if you let up on it.
The James Krause, you gotta love it, and I do. I think this is the sleeper matchup on the card. Claudio Silva, listen, as tough as they come, but the veteran James Krause always brings it. 36 fights on his resume, and as you said, always is ready to go on short notice. And the last time I think he earned himself fight of the night by jumping in there. What I like about this fight, Jordan, is the fact that being that really smart veteran that James Krause is, he wouldn't take this fight on 2 weeks notice if he didn't like the matchup and think he could win. This guy, I've been covering forever. He got a win at RFA 1. It's almost a decade ago. I mean, does the same thing. He just is as tough as they come. I love when he'll in this fight, he'll have the height and reach advantage. I can see him using that to his advantage against Claudio. Listen, Claudio is at his best when the fight is on the ground, and especially when he can get in top position. Listen, he's a stud at 14-1. No doubt about it. 5-0 in the UFC, submission wins in, I think, his last 3 previous fights. So he'll be relentless with those takedown attempts. I think he'll try to make this ugly, use his BJJ, but the smart veteran in Krause, this guy just has a way of doing it. He's a tough striker. I think, he'll use that jab, keep that distance, and it's a tough fight to call. This one, Jordan, opened up, and of course our odds are brought to you by denversportsbetting.com and betrivers.com. This one opened up as a pick'em pretty much, but right now, as of this recording, the James Krause is the favorite at -160. The comeback on Silva +130. That means, Jordan, a lot of money is coming in on Krause, and maybe it's because fight fans, number one, love him. Number two, maybe not know as much about Silva, or number three, just know he's going to bring it every time. But the money and the play is coming in on Krause.
As it should. Dana put out that if you don't know, now you know, or he does every single week video, and James Krause was who James Krause and Claudio Silva matchup as a whole was who he profiled. But you have to take a look at the totality of the situation here, Ron. I feel like James Krause's team out there in Kansas City, Glory, has been on fire these last few weeks. I mean, everybody from Kevin Krumm coming up and making his debut and lighting the scene on fire, to Jeff Molina on the Contender Series, to you have this last weekend for FAC, a lot of his younger up-and-coming stuff. Dude, David Onama, all of those guys are just flourishing right now. So there's something in the water out there in Kansas City, and they're all kind of following James's lead. He's leading from the front of the pack. Yeah. And when you have that synergy and everybody is just kind of building off of everybody's success, Zach Cummings just had a big win a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Grant Dawson has been on fire. That entire squad, Ron, right now is white hot and surging in this MMA world. Yeah. So I think that right now, he has that Rambo mentality. He's going over there and he's ready to go to battle. He's going to put on a show, and the James Krause, look for him to come up huge on Saturday night.
I'm with you. I can't pick against him. I like him a lot in this fight. Everyone's favorite UFC corner man, the James Krause, and of course the toughest guy around, has just been getting it done for a long time. I like the bet. 36 fights on his resume, still getting it done. So it should be a lot of fun. All right, that's going to wrap up another Denver Sports Betting MMA preview show sponsored by the MMA Plug. Jordan, let's keep this thing rolling. Enjoy the fights this weekend, my man.
Absolutely. You do the same there, boss.
Okay, will do. Check back for more UFC event previews on denversportsbetting.com. Follow us on Twitter. I am at @Kruck. Jordan is at Peanut Podcast. And of course, at Betting Denver. On Instagram, it's Denver Sports Betting. It's comments from the Peanut Gallery. And I am at Krucker7. For my man, Jordan Kurtz, I'm Ron Kruck. And that is all.